I have a suggestion.
Oh, wonderful.
Because it'll be impressive enough. The fact that this child has not gotten any immunizations previously
Yes.
means this poor child will have to be tortured with 6 different injections at the same time. And if you would like to put those 6 up at the one visit, at her first visit to get all these immunizations, I'm happy to do that.
A child at their 6-month shot, they would receive DTaP, correct?
Correct.
They would receive polio.
Correct.
Hep B.
Correct.
Pneumococcal?
Yes.
HIB?
It depends. It depends on the product that was used in the first 2 sessions.
Same issue with catching up a 2.5-year-old, right? Same choice.
Same choice. Yeah, in this case, yes.
And at 2.5 years of age, you're saying getting 6 vaccines is torture, but a 6-month-old would have to receive, we just counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vaccines, correct? Aluminum adjuvants are used in vaccines, correct?
Correct.
Why are aluminum adjuvants used in vaccines?
Because they make the vaccine more effective.
Okay. And how do they do that?
I don't know.
Okay. What's an antigen?
An antigen is typically a protein that, in this case, it would be, if you're talking about vaccines, an antigen is a protein that causes a reaction, and oftentimes is an infectious agent, but not always.
Isn't it true that an adjuvant will not only bind to the target antigen that's in the vaccine, but also to the impurities and byproducts such as the animal and human parts left in the vaccine of the manufacturing process?
You're asking me specifics about physiology that I am not. That's not my area of expertise.
But okay. So you're not aware that there's a difference between the form that aluminum. So when it's ingested, it's taken up in ionic form. When it's injected, it's in these nanoparticle forms. And in contrast, injected aluminum are nanoparticles, correct? They're there to create an irritant to the immune system so that the vaccine creates antibodies. And so they're actually these nanoparticles that are in the vaccine, right? Or do you not know?
You're talking about specifics that are very detailed.
Aren't the details important? I mean, you said that...
Not in this case, because we're talking about a metal. It is not concerning to me because the amount of aluminum that we ingest in general, just through our diet, is much higher than what we get through vaccines. There's no reason to believe that that additional small amount, is anything to be concerned about.
So you said that the quantity of ingested aluminum is small, or excuse me, is much larger than the amount of injected aluminum, and therefore you deem it safe.
Correct.
Are you aware that the FDA provides that in terms of ingested aluminum, eaten aluminum, 0.3% or less is actually taken up by the blood? Do you know that or not?
I don't know the exact numbers now.
And that if it is, it's taken up in ionic form. Do you understand what I mean?
I understand what you mean by that.
That means in its smallest elemental form, that's how it's taken into the blood, right?
Correct.
Okay. And aluminum in ionic form is not able to cross the blood-brain barrier, correct?
I am not aware that that's true.
You don't know?
I don't know that that's true.
Okay. If you don't know, that's fine. And antigens bound to aluminum are taken up by macrophages, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And macrophages present the stuff they gobble up to the parts of the immune system that create antibodies, correct?
I believe so. I have not studied the actual mechanism of action.
And they also travel to different parts of the body, including the brain, correct?
Correct.
And they'll deposit the materials they gobble up there. Isn't it true that most package inserts for most vaccines report encephalitis or encephalopathy as a reported adverse event from vaccination?
I would have to look at all the package inserts to be able to say yes or no to that. It is possible, yes.
Do any of the vaccines in the childhood study contain monkey kidney cells?
I do not know.
Blood serum from cows?
I do not know.
Guinea pig cell cultures?
I do not know.
Gelatin from pigs and cows?
I don't know.
MRC5 human diploid cells?
MRC5 human diploid. Those are specifics that I typically do not.
Are you aware that MRC5 diploid cells are cells cultured from the lung tissue in aborted fetus?
I am aware that there are two vaccines out on the market, the MMR and the VZV, that have that use a cell in the production of it, use a cell line from aborted fetuses from 1962 and 1966. Those are the only two aborted fetus tissue cell lines that are used.
Isn't it true that there actually has recently been a new cell line, human cell line from aborted fetal tissue that's been approved for use in vaccines?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. And none of the aborted fetal tissue culture cell lines actually end up in the vaccine product?
The vaccine doesn't have cells in it.
The cellular pieces from the aborted fetal
That
tissue
is potentially possible, yes.
Okay. Isn't it true that in fact there is more of that cellular debris in the MMR, for example, than there is actually antigen?
I don't know.
Okay. Isn't it true that that the Havrix hepatitis A vaccine, the hepatitis A vaccine contains millions of fragments of human DNA?
Possible? I don't know.
Isn't it true that Varivax, the chickenpox vaccine, contains approximately 1 trillion fragments of human DNA?
Again, if Dr. Plotkin says it does, then I will agree.
Isn't it true these 74 aborted fetuses had almost every piece of their bodies, including skin, tongue, and heart, cut into little cubes to be used for culture?
I'm not aware of any studies that Dr. Plotkin, the specifics of any studies that Dr. Plotkin did.
What principles and methods did you rely upon in reaching your opinion regarding vaccine safety?
I use the recommendations of the CDC and the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices and the American Academy of Pediatrics to form an opinion about the vaccine safety.
So your basis, I'm saying the principal methods that you relied upon in reaching your opinion regarding vaccine safety and vaccine efficacy are what the CDC recommends and your claim that you've seen some people die of some diseases for which there are vaccinations. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's the sum total, right?
And the American Academy of Pediatrics recommendations.
Okay.
So when you're looking at a patient and making the determination as to what vaccines they should receive, what family history factors are concerning to you?
One of the big family history factors that I would take into consideration is there a history of anybody who's immune suppressed?
Isn't it true that the only polio vaccine used in the United States is an activated polio vaccine, which is injected in muscle?
It's an inactivated poliovirus vaccine.
Right, and it's injected in muscle tissue.
Correct.
Okay. Versus what we used to be used as an
Actually, it's not into the muscle tissue. It's given sub-Q, typically.